Hey folks, it's your pal Mike Shea from slyflourish.com and twitter.com/slyflourish, here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy DM Prep. This is a weekly show recorded at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays, in which I go through steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master while preparing for my Sunday D&D game. In this case, I am running the game Ghosts of Saltmarsh, the adventure Ghosts of Saltmarsh. This show is brought to you by the backers of Sly Flourish on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/slyflourish, you too can be a supporter of Sly Flourish. These supporters help ensure that all of the trains run on time when it comes to the Sly Flourish empire. They help pay for the cost for the website. They help pay for all the equipment. They help pay for a bunch of little bits of software that I need in order to keep everything running. Most recently, I've been pushing a lot of energy towards YouTube. So a lot of new YouTube videos have gone up because the Patreon backers have helped me, support that new direction. So if you'd like to support it, you can support it there. You can also buy the book that helps support the Sly Flourish empire too. He's Not Your Problem is here. So I am trying a new bit of software. I went to Streamlabs OBS from regular OBS. So if you guys see any difference in the stream quality or any issues or whatever, please let me know, because this is my first time recording with this new bit of software. Let's see, what other news do I have? My friend Enrique Bertrand and I, he is the newbie DM on Twitter and on the web. We had a live play D&D game online on Friday morning. We did about a 2-hour game. It was about 2.5 hours, including of all of our technical stuff. And I trimmed it down to a cool hour and 39 minutes that you can see on YouTube at the Sly Flourish YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com/slyflourish, you can get to the channel and find the video there. What other interesting things have been going on? I have lots of thoughts about today's adventure. And not all of them good. I am running Ghosts of Saltmarsh as described, and we are most recently running the adventure Isle of the Abbey. And Isle of the Abbey, I think it's the 4th adventure in this series, and one of the 4 standalone adventures that aren't connected. Noble Dwarf is here. Hello, Noble Dwarf. If you are in Twitch, by the way, please come and say hello. And we can chat about all things D&D. Apparently, this is kind of cool. One thing I already like about Streamlabs OBS is that it pops open the chat right there on the side, so I don't have to. I can just look at my OBS window and see what's going on and read the chat. So that's cool, and see that my stream and everything is going well. Bandwidth and things. I can watch all kinds of stats. I can sit here and stare at stats, which I love to do. So Isle of the Abbey is one of the standalone adventures, and as written, it doesn't really fit in with any of the plot lines that are going on in the larger Ghosts of Saltmarsh story, if you could even say that there is one. There's, this book of adventures, it's 7 different adventures, 3 of which are connected, and loosely connected at that. They all surround the city of Saltmarsh, but the other 4 adventures do not surround Saltmarsh, but they are all seafaring adventures, and they're all at the right level range. So with a little bit of work, we can twist them and reskin them into something that fits our adventure. And Isle of the Abbey, like the previous adventure, which was called Salvage Operation, are both relatively easily reskinned into something that can fit our adventure. But for some reason, so I've run Savage Operation twice, and I've run Isle of the Abbey now. I'm about a little bit more than halfway through my second running of Isle of the Abbey. And there is definitely a quality difference between these 2 adventures. And in both cases, both my groups loved Salvage Operations. And my home group, my Wednesday group, was not a big fan of Isle of the Abbey, and nor was I. And it took me a while to even put my finger on exactly what wasn't working well with this adventure, and like what was I doing wrong. And I wrote a whole series of articles that are all going to be published over the next couple of months. And I did a DM deep dive with Dr. Megan Connell about recovering from bad games, and that was kind of based on this bad game that I had. And what I've come to realize, I think I've been able to put my finger on what is wrong with this adventure. It is salvageable, but you have to twist a lot of it. And and I'll talk about like 3 ways. So one is that like when the characters go on the beach, they get attacked by giant piles of skeletons, and there's like a safe path that you can take through the skeletons. That part of the adventure is actually a lot of fun, and I ran it for both groups, and both groups handled it differently, and it worked really well for both groups. Hey, Gondolar's here. Hello, Gondola. Hello, Dreculus69 and Smith Bowell and Native DM. Lots of folks today. That whole part of it is fun. The only tricky bit is, as written, if you have somebody do a perception check, they go that many squares forward. It's a lot of squares. So like you can skip most of that whole thing if they roll really well. And if they roll a series of bad rolls, they're going to get attacked a lot. So I don't know exactly the right way to run that. I've run it twice, but I kind of ran it as is twice. And either time it seems like, you want to just have them go some number of squares forward and then suddenly get attacked by a big pile of skeletons. And I like mass battles in D&D. I actually, now that I've got a system for it, I think it works really well to have, 25 or 30 skeletons attack a group at a time. That worked well in both cases. And then at the end, so in my Sunday game, they went up the beach, and at the end of the beach, they fought a skeletal juggernaut, which is made up of a bunch of skeletons. And people don't mind a lot of skeletons coming, probably a couple of waves, right? So you can sort of have them travel through and then maybe, reduce the amount of skeletons they fight based on perception checks. I don't know exactly the right system to use for it. And I suggest taking a look at it and deciding for yourself exactly how I want to run it. But I think having like 2 or 3 waves of lots of skeletons can be interesting, but probably more than 3 is too many, and fewer than, if you only have 1 or 2, it's too few. So they fought the skeletal juggernaut, and I didn't use the skeletal swarms because I wasn't a big fan of the skeletal swarms. They did too little damage. Let's see if I can find the skeletal swarm here. Monsters. Bodax. Maw demons. Let's see. Skeletal swarm. Why am I doing this? Technology. So the challenge 2, they have a lot of hit points, but they only have 1 attack for 11 damage, right? Which isn't a lot. If you think about the number of skeletons that are attacking, that's not a lot. Like, I could definitely see more. So I guess it depends on like how many skeletons are in that, and they have 13 hit points each. So it's about 5 skeletons in there, but 11 damage is not 5 skeletons worth of damage. And only 1 attack means, if they miss, they do 0. So I think actually attacking with a big pile of skeletons works better, and that's what I did. I think I had him 5 skeletons per character attack them in the final wave. And then after they were about 3/4 done killing those skeletons, then the Juggernaut showed up and they fought the Juggernaut. And the Juggernaut was cool. The one thing I did is in the disassemble, where it raises into 12 skeletons, I instead turned these into crawling claws. I had a bunch of skeletal hands kind of fly out, and they were able to blast all the skeletal hands with 1 blast and kill them all. That was nicer than all of a sudden fighting, hey, look, more skeletons. After they just fight like 50 skeletons, you don't want to then throw, hey, look, another 12 skeletons. It's a little tiresome. Hot and thirsty down in the basement today. Although it's cool outside, I'll tell you. Smith Bowell says, do you feel like in a lot of these older adventures seem to assume an adversarial vibe between players and DM? I don't know. I can't say. I can't say what attitude they were expecting. I think it felt like, without having data to back this up, it probably felt more adversarial back then. I think DMs were a little bit more adversarial. I mean, this is first edition D&D, and I think it was kind of right around that time. This one wasn't. No, was this one old? I can't remember. The Abbey. I think it was older. And it was a Dragon or a Dungeon Magazine one. Let's go back to the... Isle of the Abbey was Randy Maxwell's contribution in 1992. So 92 was 2nd edition, right? Or was it 3rd? Were they in 3rd edition yet? No, it was still 2nd. Yeah, it was 2nd edition D&D. So it was, there had been story-based adventures back then, but I don't know. They probably did have some adversarial vibe. And boy, when we talk about the Winding Way, we'll get into sort of adversarial DMing and the problems that I've had with it. So, Yeah, so they got through the beach. That was cool. But then you get to the island, and there's not really anything going on the island. So I had to meet an NPC. But I kind of wish I had thrown some kind of cool place in the island itself that they could explore, like a huge monolith or a great weird symbol on the ground. Like, I think it would have been neat to have like the 4 circles of the 4 elemental princes, and then in the center is the giant symbol of the elder elemental eye, only it's like 30 feet wide. So it's like these huge, ground into the ground, and just kind of a mysterious place for them to discover. I wish I had thrown one more interesting location for them to find. Hello, kitty. For them to find when they went exploring the isle, because other than the beach and the Abbey, there's really nothing going on in the island. And that's kind of a missed opportunity. I think you could do a little, like, you don't have to do like a crazy hex crawl or anything like that, but I think it would be interesting to have one other interesting location to add there. So now we're talking about adding a new location, but I didn't do that. They got to the Abbey. So then they get to the Abbey itself, and this is where I suddenly discovered, it took me a while. Here's the map, by the way. Let's open this up in a new tab here. Nice. So this is the map of the Abbey. So they come up the beach from the south. They make their way through, but they're like a bunch of trees and scrubs and stuff like that. It would have been interesting if one other like outdoor place of worship for the clerics, these evil clerics, and then we can reskin the clerics into whatever we're going to do. And I did clerics of the elder elemental eye. Like I'm doing a Tharizdun bent. So I wanted to, I definitely wanted to have some more symbolism of the elder elemental eye. Debig Tim says, I found your vids recently. I want to thank you for them as a new DM. They're very helpful. Great. Welcome to DMing. I'm glad you got started. I'm glad I'm able to help. Question. Do you have a second channel? Where can I get more of your content? So the 2 probably biggest places to get stuff that I do is on slyflourish.com, my main website. And you can start with the start here link and crawl through some of the better. I've hand selected a bunch of articles, including a bunch of articles for new DMs that you can, let's see, I'll pull it up and I'll show you. Sly. Hey, look, it goes right there. So if you go to start here, this is all curated. I fix this up about every 3 to 6 months. I've got a bunch of adventure guides. I've got a DM deep dive episodes. If you want to see a bunch of episodes where I interview expert people in D&D about all sorts of things. And what is related article? Oh, that's weird. Huh? Look at that. I should probably avoid the related articles I didn't know it did that. That's useless. Related articles on a site about articles. So I would start there, and then the other location, depending on what kind of content you like. If you want video, click Sly Flourish on YouTube, and it goes to my YouTube channel. I better stop this before it plays. Oh, ignore this stuff. It starts with intro to the Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, and then there's a whole bunch of recent videos and all kinds of stuff here. And I think there's a lot of videos on this site now. More than 100, I think. Yeah, so you can, these are all the videos that I've done that are previous episodes of this show, plus a whole bunch of standalone videos where I go through things like running Fandelver, or here's the new video where where Enrique and I had a game. So you can check that out too. So check that out. So the characters come up from the south, and then they go into the island, they go to the Abbey itself. And I've reskinned the clerics as clerics of Tharizdun. That worked really well. And then you get into the dungeon, and this is where I discovered, I love this piece of art. We'll keep that. Like, this is a Minotaur. But then you get to the Abbey, and I think I figured out what I don't like about the Abbey. Now, part of it is I'm twisting some of the story. But take a look at this dungeon. So you come right down the stairs from Area 1 right into Area 2. And Area 2 is a gambling hall for the people who are trapped here on the Isle. So you go to Area 2 and you've got a gladiator, 2 disciples, an acolyte, and a cultist are sitting at a table gambling. And they say, why are you here? And you can, survivor's response, I guess, is one angle, but considering that they're evil clerics, let's take a quick look. Survivor's response. If the characters enter the Abbey with swords, drawn spells, the survivors believe pirates have returned and mounted a solid defense once combat begins. So they jump right in there. And they expect to fight to the death. Um, you can't, and parlaying with the survivors is difficult because Augment is one of the first occupants they meet. He's spotting for a fight, but might be willing to delay tactic while survivors mobilize. So you have this situation, right? I'm skimming, and there's probably other things, right? But you look at, like, you come right down into this hall, and then you're in area 2. And areas 3 through 10 have people in them. All of the residents of the Abbey are in these rooms, one door away from the main hall. Any fight, any commotion in area 2 is going to alert all of the other people in these other areas. And that design, and there's the only way in and out, which means you could theoretically just like seal it up and like, well, we'll just close that off and they'll die. They'll run out of food, right? So there's this idea that there's one stairwell that leads right into a single hall, and that hall is connected to all of the other 10 rooms that are filled with people, is a recipe for a boring slog fest of fighting wave after wave of cultists and stuff. And the other thing about the adventure is they seemed to, I have a feeling that whoever did the updating of this kind of hung on to challenge rating really tightly and said, like, well, Augment has to be a gladiator. Why is Augment a gladiator? Are there any other gladiators here? Why do they have a gladiator with them? Right? Well, the reason why is because a gladiator is challenge 5, and that's about right for a group of level 5 characters. So let's pick the highest melee guy that's a challenge 5, and they pick a gladiator. But he's not a gladiator. He maybe is a veteran, right? But he's probably a thug. So, as described, he's kind of thug-like. But you don't put thugs down there because thugs are going to get killed right away because they're level 5. So this is where it breaks my philosophy of choose the monsters that make sense, right? But then another part of that is that, like, this design doesn't make sense. And this is, I had, like, when I ran it both times, it's kind of this hand-fisted, why do the people stay in the room? And some people hide, and it takes 2 to gladiate, says Evil John. Right, you need another gladiator. What's that guy doing down there, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And you could say, like, well, they paid the money to hire a gladiator who's now like his bodyguard or something like that. But I don't know, it just set me off. And a lot of the encounters in this whole section, in this whole adventure, are clearly like they sat down with Kobold Fight Club and designed, like, chose exactly what to choose. Well, Evil John says at least reskin the class. Yeah, so you can always reskin a gladiator into a more powerful melee guy, right? You don't. Right. Evil John says, I don't have a problem with the stat block per se, but the problem with the stat block is that it's fighting a gladiator is a slog because they're CR 5, 112 hit points, they got all this stuff, and he's not really like a boss. He's the entry level dude. So you walk right into the front door and you fight this one guy. So, and this falls into the style of D&D where it's like, well, I have to balance fights out and have some hard and some mediums and then more hard. So I'm going to just keep throwing hard fights out. A bunch of hard fights in a row, they're not only... it's not that they're threatening, it's that they can get boring. And, like, jacking a couple thugs for a group of 5th level characters is way more fun than fighting a single gladiator for 5 rounds, right? Fighting 25 skeletons is more fun than saying, like, oh, well, those skeletons need to be more powerful, so let's go make skeletal knights and we'll have 6 skeletal knights on the beach. I mean, that doesn't sound terrible, right? But it's like, well, the skeletal knights are a pain, but wow, 25 skeletons, that's interesting. And it makes more sense that the beach is filled with skeletons. So, I think you can change. You'll have players pulling out their phones by the second fight. Right. So you don't want to throw a bunch of hard fights. So I changed it in both runnings to be a couple of thugs and a couple of cult fanatics. And the cult fanatics could throw spells around, and that worked. And they were relatively low levels, so they then lower hit points. So, 25, 30 hit points. So the battle was quick, but then, I didn't have them alert a bunch of the other rooms. I actually had some of the people kind of hid in the rooms or barricaded the rooms. And then on area 6, I think I'm going to completely move that room. I'm not even going to use the map, I don't think. I'm going to move the room completely down a hallway and have a ritual going on in there where the high priest of the Elder Elemental Eye is conducting a ritual, and that way, like, that ritual doesn't get interrupted when everyone jumps in area 2. So I think the design of this map is not great. It's certainly this area, right? So area 1 through 10, it's too tightly connected, and there's too many people, and you're gonna have this crazy, like, everybody's gonna get alerted right away. And that it's interesting to me because it's the first time I've seen a dungeon where the design is just not fun, right? Like, the design leads to situations that aren't fun. And I don't know, I mean, I might be wrong about that, right? It might turn out, oh no, I had lots of fun. This is a great fight. And we conversed our way in. But it's like, even if you talk to somebody, well, everyone else is going to come out and talk. And now you got 29 NPCs, all telling their names and backgrounds and everything like that. And that's a pain in the ass. So, yeah, my belief is that that's not a particularly well-designed dungeon. And also the idea that it's got one entrance into this whole place. There's one stairwell that leads in. Yes, so he's not your problem brings up exactly what I would do and exactly what I'm going to recommend in my article, which is, why not switch it out for a map of Dyson logos, right? So if we go to Dyson, so Dyson logos he is the artist the cartographer who made that. Did he change up his? I think he changed his stuff, and he has a map collection here with 755 maps. Right? 755. So we can go through here and we can find, and boy, I did. So I did this. I looked around like, hey, there's one. That looks cool. Right? You can like immediately scroll through hey, look, these guys look cool. This one looks cool. Dyson Delve level 1 and 2, those look good. I can immediately just start scrolling through here and find dungeons where I'm like, oh, that's a better layout. I dig that. Here's one, right? The Dwarven Folly. If you want sort of like a constructed room or a series of constructed room, catacombs, stuff like that. Anyway, 755, here's a good one, right? I could use that. These are nice and spread out, so you're not going to walk in and immediately, aggro every creature in the place and fight them all at once. That looks cool. Look at that one, the Arcane Waters. There are better maps in the official reincarnated packs too. The official map reincarnated packs. Oh yeah, well those are the more tactical maps, right? Man, I'm thirsty today. So here is, so absolutely you can do that. And here's the interesting thing to me. So at that point, and then I'm already talking about, like, I don't particularly like the breakout of monsters, so I need to redo the monsters. I don't particularly like the design of the initial part of the dungeon. Spoilers, I don't really particularly like the design of the Winding Way. What am I left with? Right? Like, that's all really great. Change out the maps, change out the monsters, change out the creatures, maybe reskin the storyline. What did I buy this thing for? Right? Like, that means there's nothing left. Right? It's one adventure. I'm complaining, right? Of course I'm complaining. And honestly, I've had a great time up till now. But the reality is, like, at that point, all I've done is said there's an island with clerics on it. Right? Like, an island with evil clerics. And I grabbed that first section with the skeletons. But if I'm reskinning the whole rest, if I rebuild the map, that means I'm also reskinning the rooms, and I'm changing out the NPCs. I've already decided to reskin the clerics into something else. I'm not really using much in the book at that point, right? And my only, I don't know what I'm complaining about, because it's like, the book's already out. It's already done, right? I can't change it. To me, I guess it's more interesting to run into something like this, where I run into an adventure where, like, there's hardly any part of it that I like. And then, instead I grab a Dyson map, for free. Well, hell, I could have done that, right? And saved myself $50. This adventure is a placeholder for a narrative arc for the characters. The adventure should be entitled Insert Character Arc Here. Yeah, so you could just replace it. But the idea of, like, a hidden island, or an island that has a reclusive group of clerics, and then it turns out that those clerics are, worshiping the Elder Elemental Eye. Or for me, right, I like that storyline. So I don't mind having an adventure that's based on that general storyline. It just feels like I kind of wish I had started completely over again and reskin the entire adventure. And honestly, in the article that I've been writing about how to deal with this adventure, and in the these videos here, I'm basically saying, like, hey, it's not that great an adventure. You probably want to replace it. Smith Boswell says, do we think the book is worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely, the book. I feel like it is worth it just for the adventures I've run so far, and I still have 3 to go after this one. I still have Tomarot. I still have the Styes, and I still have the Final Enemy. And I've already been running the Final Enemy for my Wednesday group and enjoying that a lot. And I've read Tomarot and the Styes, and I think both of those, with a few little twists and turns there, can be good adventures. And the appendices are full of really awesome stuff, including 3 whole new adventure locations. So for anybody that even wants to run seaside adventures, it's a toolbox for seaside adventures. But if you want to run, and then if you're running any of the adventures in it, it's worthwhile. So when you think about the fact that it's like a $50 book, but how many hours are we getting out of it? Like, tons of hours. If you think about the number of people hours that we get out of enjoyment of this book, the fact that one adventure is kind of a dud is still, still way better. So Evil John says a lot more DIY than the other hardcovers. I don't know that I agree with that. I would say that I've had to do, so in some adventures, I've had to do a lot of modifications. Storm King's Thunder required a lot of work for me. The Tyranny of Dragons adventures required a lot of work from me. Out of the Abyss was pretty straightforward. I didn't have to do a lot with that. I had to do a lot of work for Princes of the Apocalypse. I had to do a lot of work with Dragon Heist. And I had to do a lot of work with Tomb of Annihilation. The Tomb of Annihilation work was more fun stuff that I wanted to do than things I had to fix. But there are a few things I had to fix. The other one is Curse of Strahd I had to do as little as possible. So I think all adventures require something. I don't think that I've never run in any adventure where I haven't had to or wanted to change something. But I don't think that this one is worse than others. I think that, it's on par with the amount of work that I've had to do with Storm King's Thunder to keep that on track, and for Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Well, you can see the whole video series I did about Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I did a lot of work on that too. So I don't think it requires more work than others. It's probably right in the middle. He's Not Your Problem says Descent in Avernus requires a lot of work. Yeah, I haven't looked through that a lot recently, and I haven't looked through Dungeon of the Mad Mage, so I don't know how much work that takes. And what I've just started running, as it can be seen in that video with Enrique, I just started running the adventures in Dragon of Icespire Peak, and at least at level 1, they require work. For me, when I ran the Dwarven excavation adventure, I had to do work, and I wish I had done more work to make that cooler than it was. It didn't, it needed work. So my belief is that all adventures need work, which is fine because I like to write up adventure write-ups, and I like to do these videos where I do it. If I could say, hey, just run it, it just runs itself. Evil John says Curse of Strahd is a masterpiece except for the isometric maps. Yeah, for those of us who aren't held to the grid too tightly, even the isometric maps are just fine. Although, boy, it requires a lot of description to help people. Horde of Dragon Queen and Storm King's Thunder didn't require fabricating a narrative thread throughout the adventures. That's true, but boy, that long road chapter needed a lot of work. And I'd say a lot of Tyranny of Dragons. I practically homebrewed everything when I was running Tyranny of Dragons, because it's like, hey, look, another white dragon, So, yeah. Anyway. Right. He's Not Your Problem brings up the fact that a lot of people want a setting with some written adventures, and they homebrew a lot. And I think that's most people, right? I think there's probably way more people that will homebrew stuff based on what they find in these adventures than try to run it. Evil John says GOS. I assume you mean COS. GOS or CO? Oh, GOS is perfect for people who want a setting with written adventure. Yeah, I think so. And that's kind of what I'm doing. Okay, so let me get some notes started, huh? I got 25 minutes left. I got about 30. I'm going to go a little long, 11:05, because I started a little late today. So I copied over my notes from last time. I have the Abbey Part 3. And we have our characters. Start with review the characters. The characters are the Killer Whalers. We have Mac, a Goliath Grave Cleric smuggler from the jungles of Monmerg. He gave his blood to Zolek. We had a lot of stuff with Zolek going on. That's the whole vampire that's now free in Saltmarsh. Fun stuff there. And he has spent his days retracing his steps to the grave where Quallen was laid to rest. Seeing that the grave is empty, he's really shaken, and he plans to have words with Dave's sister. I'm going to cut that part out because that didn't really happen. We have Bleth, human paladin of Procan, who wants to hunt the Black Death, which is a great whale, a warlock whale that killed her parents and was sent by the Scarlet Brotherhood. She has been twisted around and turned into emo Bleth. She has a little bit of demon blood in her now. We have Skylar, an Aarakocra Storm Cleric, knows Welgar Brinehands, saved Bleth. His head was previously ripped off by Vargul, but he got better. We have Corvel, a human fighter, Curse of Saltmarsh. We have Corvel, a human fighter, got knocked in the head during a bad fishing expedition. He and Dave both serve Ida Oland, and Ida pays Dave a stipend to take care of Corvel. We have Dave, a Triton Warlock. Dave is not going to be at the game today. Saved Corvell during a fishing expedition in which Corvell was nearly killed. We don't have to worry about it. Thurvin, Sea Elf Storm Sorcerer, served in the same pirate ship as Mac. Met Farron, and I think Mac was the one who knows. Mac and Thurvin both know an NPC that showed up in this recent one. So the strong start. I think we will have. So they just the characters started in that cacophony of rooms. That's not the right word. They just started in 2. They went into 10 and they fought a mage. There was a evil mage who had been scribing in a book, and they killed her, and they burned out the room and they read the book. So I think I'm going to have the doors burst open and a bunch of cultists rush out. That always helps. Black Death is a campaign antagonist. If you mean the Black Death is in the plague, or the Black Death is in the Name of the Whale. Cacophony of Catacombs. It's terrible. Cacophony is about loud things, isn't it? So many cultists rush out and attack, but some cultists are still hiding if they explore. We don't have to worry. We already talked about reskinning the Abbey. But we do have Lightspire, the Sunblade, which we will stick in the treasure. Do I already have it in treasure? Boy, my NPC section is ridiculous. Yes. And we have some other magic items here. And I have what magic items people are looking for, which is good. Which I'll stick in my magic section. So that is all set. I'm going to delete the secrets and clues because we should start with fresh secrets and clues every time. Scenes, I'm not going to worry about scene. Well, I'll keep it just so I have it in the notes for next time. But the scenes are cult attack, explore the chambers, disrupt the ceremony, travel through the winding way. Secrets. The cult of the Elder Elemental Eye has hidden a weapon of great power in the vault at the end of the winding way. Dead cultists guard the winding way, including specters, skeletons and specters. Dead cultists. The winding way is filled with traps to prevent tomb robbers. What else? The cult of the Elder fought a great battle on the island of the Monolith against priests and paladins of Saint Cuthbert. Oh, I'm not showing my notes. How lame is this? There we go. Sorry about that. My notes. Hunter Gain says, "Dude, back to our last project. Love you, left. Man, I can't wait to get that project in your hands. Progress is really good on Ruins of the Grendelroot. A third of the book is fully edited and ready to go. Just needs to go into layout. 2/3 of the book is in editing now. It has gone through playtesting. All of the art is done. All of the maps are done. The design is done. All of that is done. So we're in a good spot. I'm hoping the end of the year, that might be a little tight. We'll see. I know you want it now, and I want it now. We all want it now. I'm banging the table with you, because boy, we want it. But, I want it to be good, and it's going to be good. It's good, and nothing's in the way of it coming out being good. I'm really happy with it. I think it's going to be great. Best work I've ever done. Let's see. What other secrets do we need? That's 4 secrets. There are kind of 2. The Elder Elemental Eye, same as the Chained God. They are one. A more primitive. The Chained God is a more primitive and bestial incarnation of this god. The Elder Elemental Eye is more refined. I write in Sublime. This is a text editor called Sublime. I use it for all kinds of stuff. I write all my books in Sublime. Actually, no, I started using Word because I write in the template itself to make editing and layout easier. What else? I need, how many more? That's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we force ourselves to do 10 secrets and clues because that lets us dive deep into some things that we wouldn't normally. It's easy to have 5 secrets and clues, but 10 means we really have to dig in. So like what other history of the Abbey? The Abbey has been here for 300 years. Members of the elemental cult who didn't kill themselves, who didn't kill each other, came here upon clerics who didn't kill each other came here upon discovery of the Elder Elemental Eye. Tharzadun, Chained God, Elder Elemental Eye, individual elemental cults. Yep. He codes and writes. He plays D&D. What can't he do? I don't know. There's lots of things. The things I can't do could fill a book. What else? 2 more. I need 2 more secrets. Cool secrets, things that they could discover. Either people could tell them or on murals. 3. High priests. Are buried in the deepest chamber of the Winding Way. Mummies. Major Ursa's daughter is a cultist. Oh, that's a good one. Thank you, Snark Knight. There's a secret. Things I Can't Do, the title of my next book. Unfortunately, I don't write books based on petitions. Who was Kurt's Monster Cutter? Oh, Kurt's Monster Cutter was one of that was the gladiator. Now is on the ship. Now on the Sea Ghost. NPCs, boy, I'm swimming in NPCs. Most of these are not going to come out in today's adventure. It's really just these guys. I do need a high priest. Who's the high priest? And I'm not going with Ozymandias. I don't know why they chose Ozymandias as a name. This is ridiculous. Everybody ties into Ozymandias. Let's go to names. Oh, why? Oh. Names. We need a cool name. Zephyros. Zephyros the Black Jewel. Adrian Veidt. He's a priest of the Elder Elemental. Not exactly a high priest, because he's only like level 5. What would be an interesting character from popular fiction that I could use for that? I've been watching a lot of the TV show True Blood and Mad Max. I watched Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome recently. The Reverend from... I don't like that guy. I don't even like that guy as a villain. I won't worry about it. I can roleplay him on the spot. So those are really the... yeah, Tina Turner. That's not a bad idea. Sure. Perfect. But then let's make her female instead of male. And we'll call it Zephyr. Zephyr the Black Jewel. Priestess of the Elder Elemental Eye. Good. So we got an NPC. So we got our secrets and clues. We got that. So monsters. We have cultists, cult fanatics. We're going to cut some of these out. We have thugs. We have specters. We have the crystal Bodak. We have mummies. I think those are good. Oh, a priest, right? Is there a... So what kind of hideous creature... what kind of hideous creature would the cult of the Elder Elemental Eye summon? What kind of aberration might they call from the depths? What makes sense? Let's go to D&D Beyond and let's go to monsters. No, I'll go to game rules, monsters. And let's go to advanced filters, and we want aberrations. Where's the... I don't see the thing. What are Bodak? Were Bodaks previously dead people? Why can't I find the name, challenge rating, size, environment, alignment, senses, save, has layer, damage, immediate vulnerability? Why isn't there a monster type? Am I missing type? Where's type on this list? Am I even looking at the right thing? I'm not even looking at the right thing. Let's go to here so you guys can see. Game rules, monsters. Oh, of course, it's the big thing. So let's go to aberrant. And we're going to say advanced filters. We will go from challenge rating 3 to challenge rating 6. Filter. And let's take a look at this. A chul is not bad. I like chuls. And that would be scary. And the thing about a chul is that I thought that they have that sort of aquatic nature to them. and they are, I think that they are all over the island. The monolith island, I think, are filled with Chul. So I think that that's pretty great. So I might do a Chul. Let's see what else we've got. Cloaker. Why are these challenge ratings are too high? I did the challenge range. Filter monsters. Gouth, Grells. Grell isn't bad. Slods. A Slod could kind of speak for the Elder Elemental Eye, probably. What is a Scum? That's not bad, except it's not really summoned. They're turned into these things. I guess, is that all of them? I think that's all of them. And that challenge rating. Surprising, there's not a lot. We're going to go with a Chul. Chuls are nice, dangerous creatures. Scary lobster monster. So that's set. So we're good there. All right, so I got my secret. All right, so my notes are good, right? I'm ready to go. This is good. We're all good here, right? Got my notes, reviewed my characters. I got my strong start. I've got scenes. I've got secrets and clues. I've got NPCs. I've got monsters, treasure. Locations isn't on here, right? And the locations is what I... let's do locate. Did I skip locations? I did. I wonder how many... I've been cutting out locations because I don't need them. But in this one I do, because I'm reskinning this whole adventure. Because it kind of sucks. Shh. So I have in this ready to create some fun. That's my goal today, is create some fun. 3 hours of a good time. So we have I don't have to worry about any of the hall. So I have the temple, right? It's not a chapel. What would the... Temple of the Elder Elemental Eye. It has a summoning circle, grand tapestries, and what? Burning braziers. You can never go wrong with burning braziers in a temple. The Abbey is kind of a grind. Yeah. So we'll talk about, so that's one thing I want to spend some time talking about is, I would like to spend some time talking about, how to handle the hall, the winding way itself, like the corridors and stuff like that. Fantasy Grounds College says, would you consider having your Fantastic Adventures converted into Fantasy Grounds format? I would. I had investigated that a little bit, and so there were a couple of problems. Yeah, I got really busy with other projects, and I wasn't sure if the amount that it would make would end up paying for the cost. Was kind of my main issue. So tell you what, email me, and somebody looked into this for me. Somebody had actually converted one of the adventures, I think. So I have looked into it, but I don't know. Yeah. It was a cost issue. Lots of XML. Yeah. And I did a lot of XML because I converted it into EPUB. So I've got an EPUB version. But yeah, if you want, send me an email at mike@mikeshay.net. We could talk about it more. And we'll see. So let's see. So we will reskin some of the chambers that are here. Let's take a look at the Isle. So there's 11, 12, 13, and 14. There are 4 main chambers in here. And let's take a look and see which chambers we want to keep and which ones we want to toss. We'll start with 11. And then what's their purpose, right? Like, why are they here? So chamber 11 is the entrance guard room, right? So this could be sort of the doorways into the winding way, guarded by minotaur skeletons. That's not so bad. Heavy ironbound doors. Old, cracked stone, laughter and whispers in the walls due to the specters. And it's got minotaurs. We have the winding way. Traps, right? Crossbow. Falling stone traps, like the problem with those is you can't reset them, right? Like once the stone falls, like getting the stone back up. You could just have crushing stone, right? We can also do a bunch of random traps from the trap thing, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. So we have that one. Then we have the... this is so crazy, right? This is where I, like, 3 enormous rotting ogres, right? 3 enormous rotting ogres. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, that's just 1 rotting ogre and 2 ghasts. Those ghasts just looked like ogres. But we have the Minotaur living crystal statue. So we'll have... we'll keep the crystal, the statue of crystal. I like this vampiric jade statue. Well, they're dead minotaurs. Where did the minotaurs themselves come from? That's a good question. Like, where did these guys get minotaurs? Maybe they built them. Maybe they'll latch together. Ooh, I've got a whole coffee. I haven't even started drinking yet. Box text, man. It's like the comments in code. The instant you write it, it's out of date. I'd agree with that. I gotta say though, like I'm finding a lot of that in recent WotC products, and I wish they would just take a little bit of extra time to give it another going over before they ship it, because I bought the brand new Tyranny of Dragons one, and one of the new encounters that they edited for Tyranny of Dragons, first one in the thing, the one that like everybody's attention is on, and it's got flavor text and main text that are out of sync. That bugged me. I was like, I bought it at the game shop, sat down with it at the game shop, opened it up, looked at that encounter, was like, oh man, there we go. And like, I'm not even that careful. Like, I'm not a careful reader. And holy cow, immediately found a problem. Oh man, I put a little touch of eggnog in my coffee and it is awesome. Where to put the vampiric jade statue? I think we'll have the so typically my fantastic features for a room do not have the monsters in them, but I'm going to cheat and put them in here because why not? And then we have the final chamber. So here I've got a bool. Do I have any light up stuff I could do in here? I don't think so. The Chul is going to be, is going to be in this Temple of the Elder Elemental Eye. This first one is going to have the Chul. Doctor Who statue that moves and attacks when no one looks. So I think, yeah, okay. So let me describe these. So I have about 6 fantastic features in here. The Temple of the Elder Elemental Eye, which has a summoning circle in it. That's going to have the Chul. It has grand tapestries showing the history of the Elder Elemental Eye and the battles that they fought. And it has a couple of burning braziers in the corner. I have the Doorway to the Winding Way. Heavy iron-bound door, old cracked stone, and laughters and whispers in the walls, and it's got Minotaur skeletons guarding the door. I have the Winding Way itself, which is a series of halls and passages that the characters will have to navigate. It is filled with crossbow traps, pit traps, crushing stones, and glyphs. The key I'm going to do here is that the characters will be able to see a lot of it with passive perception, and those they'll be able to bypass, so they won't have that many traps. I will probably only trap the doors. And then when they get to they'll be able to get through all of the hallway traps. They'll be harassed by specters, however. And in some cases, the specters will lead them into hallway traps and stuff. So that's a little bit more interesting than just, hey, we got hit by a random trap again. And then next week, we'll see how that works. Then there are 4 chambers that you have to navigate through, each containing a key required to open the final doors into the chamber of the pool. And those are I guess it's two keys required. The Statue of Crystal, which has a crystalline Minotaur in it, and the Statue of the Jade Room that has a vampiric jade statue. There is a corpse kneeling in front of it, and everyone's going to be focused on that corpse, and the corpse will fall over, and it's this desiccated, dead follower, and a Bodak is actually hiding in the corner and will kill people. And that one of my players got killed by a Bodak. One of the players' characters got killed by a Bodak before, so that'll be cool. And then we have the chamber of the pool, which is a pool of necrotic water, a sarcophagi, and decorations of the Elder Elemental Eye in it. So I will probably use the same map just because I have it handy and I don't have anything else. And they've already gotten through the pain in the ass part. So I'll probably use the same map and just go there. What is a raid? Daddy Warbucks is raiding with a party of 21. I don't know what that means. It showed up in my chat. Is that good? It could be good. Yeah. So I think we are pretty well set. It's like a host. Thank you. Fantasy Grounds. One of the writing elements that it consistently knows throughout most RPG products is overuse of sight-based encounters indoors and dungeon descriptions. Sound is number 2, and smell, feel. So they don't describe the 6 senses. Most people cannot even see too far away from their position. Yeah, that's a good point. Wow, 21 people just got here? Oh, I'm sorry, people. Thank you. Whoa, 52 people are in the views. Thank you, everybody. I'm really sorry, but I'm about to end. My time is up. That's a bummer. Oh, I wish I had something valuable to tell you. Thank you, Daddy Warbucks. And please, everybody, if you would like to, please follow the channel. Headset dies after the marathon, so I got no sound. Oh, I'm sorry. If you enjoy this channel, please follow me, and you will hear about it next week. And I will be. Evil John says, I hope you play with Newbie DM. We're planning to do it on Friday. So I figured out more of the technical stuff, so we're going to figure that out. And we'll see where we go from there. So I think we are all set for today's game. We will see how it goes. Just kind of ending with my final tips on this particular chapter of this adventure. I would say you probably want to reskin a lot of it. I would probably go grab one of the Dyson maps instead of the maps that's for the actual location. Throw it with the monsters that make most sense for the adventure that you've got. The beach is pretty cool. I would add another interesting location to the island, and and then after that, I think you've got a pretty good, solid thing. So, so thank you all very much, and I hope you enjoyed the show, and I will see all of you next week. So, hopefully you can get out there and play some D&D. Have a good day.